Joining us now, we want to bring in federal executive clemency attorney Tammy Allison and celebrity divorce attorney Carlos Lastra joining us. Carlos, obviously with your expertise, what you've been hearing is probably a little bit familiar, but it's unusual to hear it in a defamation trial. What was your read on that?
Well, I think that it definitely had all the components of a divorce, and certainly an ugly divorce with the claims of adultery, the nasty texts and social media, etc. But as I've been watching this case, from my point of view, the real perspective is how could we have avoided this? And we heard that at some point during the trial, there was a prenuptial agreement presented, but unfortunately that wasn't executed. Then we have a marital settlement agreement that wasn't executed. And both of those agreements could have had provisions in there that would have precluded either party from bad-mouthing the other. It could have included injunctive relief, so either party, if the other party violated those provisions, could have sought a court order by way of an injunction, and if that person continued to violate the court order, contempt, including incarceration as a result of contempt, it would have had teeth. And frankly, there could have been provisions in there that would have provided for this to be resolved in front of a judge pro tem, by option by Johnny. So if he wanted to keep it out of the public light, it could have been done. And so this whole issue could have been avoided, the op-ed. And so I think that's one of the things, frankly, that Johnny Depp has to be looking at going forward, and other parties out there, the public, have to think about, how could I avoid this type of mess?
That's a great point. And Tammy, speaking of maybe avoiding mess, what do you think about this whole idea, this claim that Amber Heard is planning to appeal, and of course, Johnny Depp could appeal on his side?
As she should. Anybody that is in a case where they are not the prevailing party, even though she, quote unquote, won certain aspects of her claims, we all know and see now that Johnny Depp, he overwhelmingly, quote unquote, won this trial. So for Amber Heard's legal team to plan to appeal, that is what's appropriate for any attorney to zealously advocate on behalf of their client. And there were things that we saw throughout the trial that warranted an appeal. We had some of Johnny Depp's witnesses who had to be excused. We don't know if that actually tainted the jury or not. And that witness was someone who admitted to having watched pieces of the trial on TV when they're not supposed to do so. And there were a lot of those objections from the star of the legal team on Johnny Depp's side. And some of those objections were sustained. And it was interesting to me because some of them that were sustained, I don't believe they should be, but the record was preserved for this very reason, for an appeal.
Yeah, very interesting. And, I have to ask you, Carlos, because we're talking about an appeal, the underlying finding in itself, did it surprise you? We have a jury of 5 men and 2 women, and they reached a unanimous decision in a fairly short amount of time, 13 hours, 7 people to agree on a very complicated case. Was that surprising to you?
It was surprising to me. Frankly, what was most surprising to me was the fact that the jury seemed to have approached this from a comparative fault perspective. In other words, they didn't look at the jury's instructions and construe them strictly. They said, you know what? I think both these parties are somewhat to blame for what occurred. On one end, we heard Amber Heard in the audio tapes just admitting to hitting him and taunting Johnny for ever claiming in the future to be a victim of domestic violence. On the other side, we have Johnny Depp with these really horrible texts. And I think the jury said, hey, look, Amber, you drew first blood, so we're going to order you to pay $10 million. But Johnny, you retaliated through your lawyer, Adam Waldman, and you shouldn't have done that. You had a decision that you didn't have to do that, and you did it, so $2 million. So there was some type of comparison of comparative fault here, as I see it.
Tammy, do you think that it was kind of surprising to find that there was actual malice regarding the charge, around Adam Waldman, in which, ultimately Depp was ordered to pay $2 million?
I was surprised with everything, honestly. It was a hot mess, hotter than the load that she allegedly left on his bed, okay? This is a lot, okay? It's a lot. And the fact that the jury would depart from their jury instructions, because it seems as if they did that to say that, look, both of these parties had something to do with this, and both of these parties look like they owe each other something, is not how the law works, okay? There are jury instructions that need to be followed. And the reason why I believe that the jury instructions could have been problematic is because we all know whenever we heard that there was a verdict in, everybody was tuning in. But to see that the judge sent the jury back because they forgot to fill something out, it leads me to believe if you can't fill out a piece of paper the way the judge told you to fill it out, are you able to read the jury instructions the right way?
I mean, it's a good question. I also have another question surrounding, the jury, specifically the fact that we're dealing with celebrities. I want to know, do you think that they can be? It's even possible for a jury to be unbiased. Carlos, I want to ask your take because you do celebrity divorce.
Yes, absolutely. And I will say to you, it's going to be tough to follow Tammy's statement that she just said. But I would say as far as this particular jury, they're near and dear to my heart. They're about a 10-minute drive from my offices at C&W in Washington, D.C. And frankly, I think that this jury, I think when we ultimately look at this, and maybe at some future time we'll hear from them, that they really focused on what was going on. And frankly, what I'm hearing about Amber trying to take an appeal, I'll remind everybody out there that Amber will pay attorney's fees if she loses on appeal. And frankly, the only thing that she's going to gain by winning is getting a retrial in front of another jury in Virginia. And we all saw how that went the first time.
That is an important point that you're making there. Carlos Lastra and Tammy Allison, thank you so much for joining us with your insights. We also have a special programming note for our viewers. You're not going to want to miss that. Tomorrow, attorney for Amber Heard, Elaine Bredhoff, will join our Chanley Painter for an in-depth interview from the Fairfax County Courthouse in Virginia. That's tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern right here on Court TV Live. And up next, we also take a closer look at the new star of the trial, Depp's attorney, Camille Vasquez. And then later on in our Talkback segment, Heard was awarded $2 million because of Adam Waldman's statements, as we mentioned. So was this the right call by the jury? We want to know, what do you think about it? We're going to share some of your comments later on in the show right here on Court TV. Also, don't forget to join us later on tonight.